What do they want? What do they want? One person looks friendly. He's friendly looking, and he's looking at me, and he's smiling. I think of a redhead Irishman. I don't know why. I think I know why. Because Irish are usually hostile to Negroes.
What is reality? Reality is what we believe to be true about the nature of our surroundings. But how do we come to decide that true nature? Do we conceive it completely on our own? Or do other devices gently sway our thoughts onto a pre-decided path? This is the hard question we must all ask ourselves as free humans on this planet. Who sculpts your reality?
Reality.
Holy crap, it's
That
another
was-
Wednesday night.
I'm Don.
I'm Dan.
Wishman in the house, everybody.
Yep, we got a full house in the studio here tonight.
Jam
It's jumping
packed.
off.
You're watching Reality Brief.
There you go. Strap yourselves in, jack yourself up with 0G juice, and strap yourselves in for a flumpy ride, because it's another Wednesday night here at Reality Brief.
Flumpy.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, yep, it's like that tonight. Weird energies lately about, lots of interesting vibrations in the air. I don't know about you, Don, but my cheese been flowing really heavy today. I don't know what it is, but I don't know, man. I'm full of piss and vinegar.
Really, it's a heavy flow day for your cheek?
Yeah, for my cheese. In a good way.
Well, let me ask you a
No
question.
scripts here, guys. No scripts here at all.
Let me ask you a question, though.
What's up?
All right. Is there an alien base on the moon?
God damn, I hope so.
Well, the motherfucking King lovers seem to think so.
Oh.
So we got a letter.
If it
We got a
pleases the-
letter.
If
They
it
mailed
pleases
it to
the
me.
crown,
They mailed it to me
maybe
from
construct a base
space.
upon the moon.
They mailed it to me from space, this letter. Alien base on the moon. Google Map is 100% proof of it. ET base on the moon.
That's a heavy claim. 100% proof.
An alien base photographed on the moon found on Google Earth is 100% proof of a conspiracy to hide evidence of extraterrestrial activity. A UFO hunter has shockingly claimed, yeah, so shocking that he would claim that. Hey, play that thing. What's that thing up there?
Yeah, it looks like a video of some sort.
Party people in house.
De-icing windows using a bizarre trick.
No, up above that. Alien base discovered in NASA moon images. The sensational claim was made by prominent UFO expert Scott C. Waring, who runs the website UFO Sightings Daily.
Wishman, up, man.
The UFO hunter casts his accusations of foul play at the U.S. government and search engine giant Google after finding a bizarre photo of the moon on Google Earth. Mr. Warren claimed the lunar photo, which shows a rectangular shape in the moon's Zeeman crater, is a genuine alien structure. The alien aficionado
Come on, isn't that an Italian word? You should know that. Come on.
said he came across by discovery by accident by browsing an older version of Google Earth's lunar scans. So,
This led Mr. Waring to accuse Google of conspiring to erase
There it is.
all evidence of alien activity on the moon. I was exploring Google Maps, free to download, when I found the infamous ET base at Zeeman Crater, he said. I was astonished that Google had not yet deleted it. Google had already deleted the ET base from both the visible imager and the colorized terrain map. So, and if you scroll down a little bit, there's picture with a big friendly red ring around this alien base in Zeeman Crater. And you know what? That really does look like something, man. I mean, honestly, it just looks like a place where something's been smudged out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because if you use Photoshop, then, you know the smudge tool. Well, if you took, like, an oblong-shaped smudge and just went, that's what it would look like.
You know, it occurs to me that if this is a base, it's probably not an alien base.
I mean, I would think that odds are it's a secret military installation of some sort.
I'm not saying that there's not alien bases, because,
What?
What the hell is that?
It's not on my end. What?
I think it's me, man.
No, I think it is you. I think it's your laptop. We're gonna get the PB smack for this alone. Yeah, it is your damn laptop.
Or go off. What the hell is going on, man?
I don't know, man. Your laptop's got it feels like dancing, I guess, bro.
We're going to take a look at the moon from two unique perspectives.
There we go. It wouldn't let me do it.
Jesus, fuck cycles.
Oh, fuck, man. Ooh, see what happens when we try to
my God.
put together a better show for you guys?
I mean,
Alright, so yeah, back to the crater. My bad. Sorry for the fiesta. Oh! Alright, stop. Fiesta. So, I mean, you think it could be an artifact of some sort?
I mean that's kind of what it looks like.
I mean, because definitely not crater. You ever seen a crater that looks like an oval like that? Like a
No.
freaking...
But I mean, if you look at it like close up, they have a close up image of it. If you scroll down just a hair,
Fresh burn down.
and yeah, look, that's a Photoshop smudge. Like that's something smudged. Either they were stitching the things together. I mean, I don't see it's that one crater and it's just smeared. So it's I think it's an artifact from them basically stitching pieces of different photos.
So
together
then
to
that
make a complete
crosshair,
map.
that crosshair there, is that where there's a stitch?
Yeah, it's like the corner of four pictures joined together.
So I would like to enter into testimony that you are a expert
Kind of.
at
Photoshop?
yes.
Yes, and incidentally, if you happen to need some Photoshop work done, 757-528-8130.
Hit them up.
realitybrief@gmail.com. We are accepting commissions. So lucky for us, the Lunar Orbiter Mosaic map has less editing, but I'm sure this won't last. So I made this video, which is 100% proof that Google is working with the U.S. government to hide the existence of alien life from the public.
Dude,
Which
I love how it's
wouldn't-
100% proof that it's
Yeah.
aliens. I mean, look,
In a video uploaded to YouTube, Mr. Waring points out the anomaly which he believes is an alien base. The supposed artificial structure sits on the western edge of Zeeman Crater, the remnant of an ancient space rock impact on the far side of the moon. The particular crater has been at the heart of moon-based conspiracy theories for years, with many UFO enthusiasts claiming that it houses an alien base, or a portal to other dimensions, or simply a beer hall. Conspiracy theorists have dubbed it the Zeeman anomaly after it was photographed in '94 by NASA's Deep Space Program science experiment called Clementine. Mr. Waring said that Google is making a covert war that the public doesn't know even exists right now under our noses. The war on information. A war that fights to keep the public in the dark.
did he just say the info war?
Yes, he did.
Is this info wars?
I'm not in a fucking
Oh,
cult.
Jesus.
A war that fights to keep the public in the dark and the information out of our minds. That is something I cannot allow. And so they got some close-up photos of Zeeman Crater, and I mean, it doesn't, look like there's anything artificial there. So apparently we've actually...
Well, I mean, to be fair, if there really was something there, Google is definitely not going to let you see that.
Yeah, they would they would turn with their backs to the Nazi base and be like, see, look, there's nothing here.
Nothing.
However, newer photos of the Zeeman crater snapped by NASA in stunning high definition show that there are no artificial structures around the lunar feature, at least in the part they're showing you. Pictures snapped by NASA's LRO show the rolling slopes and pockmarked surface of Zeeman Mons. Instead, the alien base presented by Mr. Waring can be explained in two ways. Firstly, it's a so-called stitching glitch, called it, of the mosaic in the photos that make up Google Earth's view of the moon. Secondly, it can be explained by the effect of pareidolia, which is an unusual trick of the mind. It's like when you see faces in clouds and stuff. It's a psychological phenomenon where people see recognizable shapes in clouds, rock formations, otherwise unrelated objects, or data. There are many examples of this phenomenon in Earth and space. So, the swamp gas explanation, yeah, but, I mean, stitching two pictures together, yeah, as a guy who does Photoshop a lot, yeah, I dig that.
Mm-hmm.
Or has worked with applying
It
textures
did look
to
like
various
it was a
things.
circle artificially stretched.
Yeah. So I'm sticking to that.
I mean,
now.
Bases on the moon? Probably.
Yeah, exactly.
But is that a base?
I'm not entirely sure, but, if somebody did have a secret base on the moon, at least now we know that it might
not
have...
there?
Yeah, well, either it's not there, or that, again, if it's subsurface or somehow, because obviously you'd build your base in a lava tube or something.
Right, I wouldn't imagine you would want a structure on the surface of the moon.
No, that's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean...
And apparently, that under the surface is where all the water is. And this is coming from also express.co.uk. These guys do such fine journalism. But hey, sometimes you get some gems. Water on the moon bombshell. NASA satellite observes moving water on the moon's surface.
NASA instruments orbiting the moon have found evidence of water molecules moving around and bouncing in the lunar orb's day side. A groundbreaking lunar reconnaissance orbiter study has claimed.
So they're not saying there's liquid
Bouncing.
water on the moon.
It's bouncing.
It's like ice crystals that sort of get knocked around by solar wind and radiation.
So the incredible moon discovery follows long-held assumptions to the surface of the moon is dry and inhospitable to liquid water. Up until the last decade or so, NASA said astronomers only expected water to exist in isolated pockets of ice near the moon's poles. But a recent slew of discoveries, including NASA's latest find, have challenged the way scientists understand lunar hydration. Astronomers now believe small amounts of surface water are bound to the moon's dusty gray soil, or regolith. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, regolith.
So that's just fancy talk for moon dirt?
Yeah, moon dust, pretty much.
These small batches of water vary in amount and location and are dependent on the time of the day. But the discovery is exciting because it can help better plan future manned missions to the moon, with the goal of setting up a permanent base of residence. Oh, like, now that they're announcing they're going to put a base there, all of a sudden there's, like, water.
Oh, yeah,
like,
hey,
all
check
this
it out.
cool shit going. Oh, but by the way, lunar water can be potentially used by humans to make fuel or to use for radiation shielding or thermal management. If these materials do not need to be launched from Earth, that makes these future missions more affordable. No shit, man.
Yeah, seriously, that's like Pater. That's like, hey, there's fuel on the moon, there's breathable air on the moon. Well, almost. You'd probably still need to bring nitrogen. But the lunar discovery has found water molecules are tightly bonded to the moon's surface until around the time when temperatures peak at noon. And then these water molecules then thermally desorb and bounce around until they land in a location cold enough for the water to cool down and return to the surface. Dr. Kurt Rutherford, it's like Rutherford, but not. The principal investigator for the LRO's Lyman Alpha Mapping Project, LAMP, I love LAMP, argued that the discovery is particularly important because now NASA is returning to the moon in the next decade. He said, "This is an important new result about lunar water, a hot topic as our nation's space program returns to a focus on lunar exploration. We recently converted the LAMP's light collection mode to measure reflected signals on the lunar day side with more precision, allowing us to track more accurately where the water is and how much is present." And Dr. Michael Poston, a research scientist for LAMP, said lunar hydration is tricky to measure from orbit due to the complex way that light reflects off of the lunar surface. So, he says, "I'm excited about these latest results because the amount of water interpreted here is consistent with what lab measurements indicate is possible." So yeah, that's pretty cool. There might actually be water on the moon.
Well, I mean, we know there was water, but they're saying it's flowing. It's moving.
Yeah, it's
bouncing.
I don't assume it's water for very long. It's probably sublimating from ice straight into water vapor. And
wouldn't that be some shit if the moon was actually like a beach paradise?
You see?
Yeah, I don't think so. The sunburn will be pretty nasty pretty quick. But nevertheless, hey, if we're going back, it says, NASA administrator Jim Bridenstine, has vowed to send the U.S. Space Agency back to the moon before the end of the next decade. NASA chief says we will go to the moon in the next decade with innovative new technologies and systems to explore more locations across the lunar surface than ever before. This time when we go to the moon, we will stay. We will use what we learn as we move forward to the moon to take the next giant leap, sending astronauts to Mars. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The
Speaking of Mars and water,
the announcement follows a 6% increase in NASA's annual budget, staggering $21 billion.
Oh, I like money.
Yeah. So let's hope that this is actually the beginning of a permanent, public presence in space.
you hear my elbow popping?
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds pretty rough.
Brought to you by the Mossad.
Mm-hmm. So it turns out there's potential sources of water on Mars too. Yeah. This is coming from Fizzorg, a swim project. NASA's potential sources of Mars water. And there's we don't have to read a long article here because there's a nice, pretty picture. But, then again, this is radio, so hey.
It's not radio, Dan. It hasn't been radio for like 2 years.
It hasn't?
Mm-mm. This is like some kind of weird live video bot podcast.
Huh. The future is a strange place indeed.
Yeah, we haven't. I don't know if you realize that, man. We haven't actually been on the radio for like 2 years, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, hey, it is what it is.
I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, I
Yeah.
guess. We're actually not even going on YouTube right now. We're just...
Oh, we're not?
No, we're streaming to my neighbor.
Ah, nice. Well, I hope they
Sorry,
enjoy
man, I
it.
forgot to mention.
So yeah, missions carrying humans to Mars will require on-site resources, and a project led by Planetary Science Institute scientists Nathaniel Putzig and Gareth Morgan is mapping the availability of potential shallow water ice sources across the surface of the Red Planet. These two teams, led by Putzig and Morgan, were contracted by NASA to pursue separate mapping efforts of subsurface ice deposits in Arcadia Planitia. After their midterm reports showed significant synergy, the teams were combined in a joint project called Subsurface Water Ice Mapping, SWIM, on Mars, which extends the coverage of the mapping project from an experimental swath over Arcadia Planitia to all other low-elevation regions across the Martian Northern Hemisphere. So, yeah, the goal is to actually find where water is on Mars in large quantities, and, so they're launching a project setting out to find just that. Pretty cool. In addition to expanded Arcadia study region, the SWIM team has been contracted to map 3 other study regions, Acidalia, Onilus, and Utopia regions, shown in the accompanying figure.
I mean, they're mapping it up. We got this advanced... Check this out, man. It's funny, because it seems like we already been there, just getting around to mapping it now. Advanced propulsion options for the Mars cargo mission, 1989. So this comes out the Black Vault. This comes out of the what was it? The Space Department there, Zach.
Yeah, some space in your face.
Wishman. So if you don't know what the Black Vault is, basically this dude, he's badass. He gets all these Freedom of Information Act requests out, and he gets all these documents, and he stores it up at this website called the blackvault.com. So one of the latest is this report summarizes the results of an evaluation of a variety of advanced low-thrust propulsion options for cargo delivery portion of a split mission piloted Mars exploration scenario. So that's a whole lot of words for what kind of motors do we need to get to Mars?
Yeah. They considered solar sails, nuclear propulsion, solar electric propulsion, magnetic sails, mass drivers, railguns, solar thermal rockets, beamed energy, propulsion systems, and tethers. The requirement was to transport 400 metric tons of cargo from a 500 kilometer altitude low Earth orbit to a 6,000 kilometer altitude Mars orbit. So basically around the orbit of Phobos for the 2014 opportunity. The primary figures of merit used in the study were total initial mass in low Earth orbit and the Earth to Mars trip time.
So you know, if you want to check out the document, head on over to theblackvault.com, and he's got the document linked up there, what he got for the Freedom of Information Act request. But, you know, it just makes you wonder, how long have we been there? Like, what levels? Okay, so on this program, we have a lot of people on talking about different levels of secrecy, like different layers of black operations. So, you know, with the very deepest, darkest being the real fucked up shit. You know, the clone bodies and super soldier programs and 20 and backs and all that shit. Right? Mm-hmm. You following me?
It looks like a lot of these reference images are redacted.
That doesn't surprise me either. Oh, those are from something that you can't see. Mm-hmm. So, I you know, now I lost where I was going with that. That's cool. It was probably dumb anyway. So, yeah, there it is. There you have it. You can jump on over and check it out.
Yeah, it's all up on that Black Vault. And they got some good stuff.
I remember my point now. So, what level is this at? Like, which level of the fuckery? Because, like, the lower levels don't know about the higher levels. Some of the higher levels don't know about the other higher levels, and so on and so forth. Correct? Compartmentalization.
Right. There are higher levels of fuckery than others.
So this is NASA?
Yeah, JPL.
You know, going
That's
on
a relatively public level of fuckery.
Going on that same thread, I mean, dude, what's this sheet metal shit? This come off Coast to Coast, I think, didn't it?
Yep.
Odd sheet metal spotted on Mars.
Goddamn humans can't go to any planet without leaving their crap all over the place.
Oh, you ain't got it. Okay, so I mean, looks like a pretty good fucking perfect circle there.
Yeah, it looks like a chunk of rocket. I mean, it's obviously, how many probes have we lost going to Mars?
Man, a lot.
Yeah, a bunch. So there, we found piece of one.
Anomaly hunters examining NASA's images of Mars have once again spotted something curious sitting on the surface of the red planet. The oddity was reportedly photographed by the space agency's Curiosity rover, and in the original image obtained by the craft, the weird object stands out quite a bit among the otherwise normal rocks around it. As one can imagine, that remarkable contrast caught the attention of rogue researchers who contend that Mars is littered with debris from lost ancient civilization.
Yeah, it's the Russian Space Agency.
What makes this particular anomaly rather intriguing is that, unlike a number of other strange Martian finds, which are often akin to interpreting the shape of a cloud, this oddity is rather simple and straightforward. The object resembles a triangular piece of sheet metal with what appears to be a perfect circle cut out of it. What exactly it is, however, is up for debate. So
is it really? I mean, it's a piece of a spacecraft. It's just space junk.
I mean, not necessarily, Dan. It doesn't have to be a piece of space junk.
Ready the anal probe.
You don't think that
Probe is ready.
there was anything on Mars ever before in the past? You're not open to that? You don't think there's
I'm open to it. I'm just saying that the most logical explanation is that it's a piece of a rocket, piece of a landing fuselage.
But, you know, if you were that interested in it, you could probably find out where that picture was taken and cross-reference it.
Yeah, it'd be great if we still had an operating rover that could get next to it and find out where it is.
Take a picture of it, yeah, but I'm saying what you could do, actually, would be to find out where that picture was taken, what coordinates, and find out where the crashes were, and see if it's even possible for it to be debris from that.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. That would actually be
not that you would actually do that, but maybe someone listening would be interested in it enough to know if it was actually a piece of an orbiter.
You know, I think they probably don't know where a lot of those orbiters really were lost, because when something's moving at 25,000 miles an hour through space.
25,000 miles an hour? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, like through the Martian atmosphere.
What are you doing?
What?
Is it my turn?
I don't know. I guess I was kind of spacing out.
What are we supposed to be doing other than that? So let me ask you this question, man. Are black holes and laser beams the new motherfucking Uber?
That would be rad.
What does that mean, you may ask? What does that mean?
They're just talking about getting gravity boosts off of black holes. Which it sounds like a good idea, but I mean, when you think that when you get that close to a black hole, time moves differently for you. So by the time you're done getting your gravity assist, like trillions of years will have passed.
A black hole's gravitational pull is so strong that it bends light around it like a strange cosmic mirror. But, you know, what if you had some kind of time dilation field
That allowed you to
move at your
through
normal
space
rate
at
of
your
time? Right.
If we had the tech for that, that would be friggin' rad.
Word.
I don't think we do, but you know, and who knows? You know, maybe somebody does. Maybe a Type 4 or Type 3 or Type 4 civilization has that kind of tech, but
Well,
we certainly don't.
You know, we may just completely have a fucked up understanding about time anyway.
That's true.
Interstellar spacecraft can make use of this effect to steal energy from a black hole and get a speed boost without needing extra fuel. So, we already use a version of this energy stealing. Spacecraft heading from Earth to the outer solar system slingshot around Jupiter for a gravity assist. So, we're talking about slingshotting a gravity hole.
Yeah, slingshotting a black hole.
A gravity hole. Playing Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
But that was a gravity well.
I mean, it's
Right.
a singularity, isn't it?
No, I'm talking about that. Forget it. I was talking about that video
Yeah,
game.
yeah, it's an artificial singularity.
I'm just talking about the name, dude.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
We already use a version of this energy stealing technology. Blah 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 blah.
So, and if
Space
you-
could theoretically do the same. So that's it.
Yep, yeah, and if you want to read any more, then you got to subscribe, which we're not gonna. But yeah, it's a cool idea. Slingshotting around black holes, gotcha. So,
Man, that was bad.
yeah, it was that, and you know what? Yeah, and New Scientist, you're a bad magazine for.
You should have just left it.
Yeah, I should have, but you know what? I didn't. So, I mean, hey, cool idea, slingshotting off black holes. This is coming from Air and Space Smithsonian magazine. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence heats up. Where do we stand, and what are the most promising leads? So they had this meeting in Germany. It's the most eminent of German-speaking scientists in the field of astrobiology were invited to give keynote presentations, which included talks by Carl Menton, director of the Max Planck Institute for Radio Astronomy, on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, by Gerhard Herrendahl, recipient of the L&D Emil Memorial Award for pioneering achievements in space sciences, on messaging to extraterrestrial civilizations, MITI, which I guess is, you know, the more extroverted version of SETI, and by Andreas Losch from the Institute of Systematic Theology at the University of Bern, Switzerland, on the scientific, philosophical, and theological consequences of the presence of extraterrestrial civilizations. And the author says, I also give a talk on the possibility of complex life on other planets based on the cosmic zoo hypothesis, which we've all seen those episodes of Orville or, you know, Star Trek or whatever, where, you know, people get captured and, you know, they're basically put on display in a human zoo or some, you know, a zoo for some aliens.
Kind of like Where We Live.
Yeah, kind of.
You know what I'm saying? Because look, here's my thing, man. I'm sick of living in a goddamn zoo. Well, I'm not gonna start in. But
Well, it looks
let
like
it be
this.
known, I'm sick of living in a goddamn zoo.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, it looks like the zookeepers were holding this meeting. It was hosted by the Evangelical Academy in Tutzing, Germany, underscoring the continuing interest of religious groups in the possibility that extraterrestrial life exists and what it might mean for all the faith communities. The Catholic Church appeared to me to be the most interested group of all. In recent years, I guess the Jesuits ain't having no aliens coming in and showing them who's boss. In recent years, I've seen many of its representatives at scientific meetings. In 2014, the Vatican Observatory, yes, they have their own observatory, even co-hosted a conference in Arizona on whether or not we're alone in the universe. So, Are we? If you were to ask Avi Loeb, he would start going off about some Oumuamua, the first object seen to enter our solar system from interstellar space. Last November, Loeb pointed to 6 strange facts, which we talked about on the last episode of Reality Brief. Most especially the fact that its shape, it's long, it's shiny, it's really thin. So, you know.
You know what I had to say to anyone who still thinks that we're alone in the universe? You're fucking boring, dude.
Seriously.
Jesus.
Get with the program, man. It's it's the future, bro. The future is now, old man. So another recent puzzle is, let's see, they mentioned Tabby Star, which we talked about, the thing that might have an alien megastructure or a Dyson sphere around it. The longest unresolved enigma is the WOW signal, which we've also, I think, discussed at length. It was one of the hallmarks of what we expect from an alien transmission, but unfortunately was received only once. The author writes, my favorite explanation is that still that advanced by William Baines a few years ago, that it may have been a transmission from one starship to another, or perhaps a ship to its home base.
No, dude, it was a fucking...
Earth just happened to be in the way.
It was a distress call.
Oh, well, they called the wrong planet.
Mm-hmm.
However, likely or unlikely these explanations, it is clear that interest in SETI is on the rise again, as shown not only in the latest conference near Munich, but by NASA's renewed interest in what's now called technosignatures of advanced life, culminating in a dedicated workshop on the topic late last year. One takeaway from these meetings is that many people beyond just scientists understand what a detection of extraterrestrial intelligent life elsewhere would mean. Nothing less than a complete reassessment of our place in the universe, which,
I think,
again, if you haven't done that, it's mathematically, someone has to be out there.
Personally, I think SETI needs a rebranding. I think they should add a K for crazy and call it Sketty.
Nice.
Sketty.
So
but jumping off the space front for a second here.
Talking about these technosignatures, there was one star that they found where how you can analyze the spectra of a star. You can look at the light spectrum coming from a star, and the absorption lines tell you what sort of elements are around that star in heavy quantities, right?
Sure.
And they found one star that had a bunch of heavy metals like plutonium, americium, curium, the highly radioactive stuff that is artificial. You only find that stuff in a lab. So it stands to reason to me that, if there is a planet with tons of heavy radioactive metals floating around it and shit, maybe we just found the Malon. Maybe they're out in space dumping their waste in a nebula somewhere, and that's what we just found.
The Malons.
Yep.
Speaking of radioactive danger.
Nice. It's my favorite. It's my favorite kind of danger.
Are wireless earbuds dangerous? Man, I've seen these things. People walking around with these things. They look ridiculous, first of all. Sorry.
And let me tell you, as a humble customer service worker, if you're talking to somebody, if you have to interact with somebody, take the goddamn earphones out of your ears and talk to them like a human being. For fuck's sake, people, come on.
So, ridiculous, man. And it seems like they just popped up out of nowhere, and then everybody had these things. I know you know what I'm talking about. Little white things sticking out of their ears, like, boo. Anyway, are they dangerous? Experts warn that Apple's AirPods could send an electromagnetic field through your brain as 250 scientists sign petition to regulate trendy tech.
Oh, damn, I don't know what's worse. Getting your brain fried by electromagnetic waves, or having the government tell you that you can't fry your brain with electromagnetic waves.
Tiny wireless Bluetooth headphones fit into the ear canal.
This is a real conundrum.
Right. So I guess we don't need the bullet points. We'll skip past that. Scientists are growing increasingly concerned over the potential health risks of wireless technologies, which they say national and international regulations fail to limit. Poor people are gonna scramble their brain. We need to have lots of taxes.
Oh, I like money.
New technologies are arriving every day, and customers can't buy them fast enough. Apple's wireless AirPods, for example, communicate with one another using a magnetic induction field, a variable magnetic field one sends through your brain to communicate with the other, explains Dr. Joel Moskowitz. So basically, they're using your brain as path to get from one to the other.
So your brain is now basically the center part of
an antenna, essentially.
Of a current.
Mm-hmm. So it's a circuit.
Some Dr. Wiley shit right here.
Dude,
Yeah.
so, whoa, think about that for a minute, man. All the different things that you can do with the EM, right? So now you're giving Apple the ability to
Install iTunes in your brain.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right?
Think about pop music being made with this in mind.
That it's gonna be
Like,
routed through
I'm not talking
brainwaves.
about your buddy John that makes pop tunes. I'm talking about the stuff that gets cranked out, you know, the industry stuff that gets written by people and just performed by whatever kid they found that's all drugged out and raped now. You know what I mean? You know
Like
what I'm talking about?
like one of them, like Corey Feldman.
What do they call them? What do they call them, dude?
Boy bands.
Boy bands, exactly. Yeah. Exactly, that kind of shit.
So yeah,
think about what they can do with that now. You know, targeting different frequencies directly through your brain. You're giving them, you're saying, please take my money so you can now target whatever you want me to fucking do, basically. Like, you're paying them to buy a mind control device. Like, straight up, like, no, even, it goes through your goddamn brain, for God's sake, man. It's not even...
You see, they are insane.
Get off my bridge.
So, Dr. Moskowitz, a University of California, Berkeley community health professor who focuses on cell phone exposures, says that there isn't even research on what this could do to the brain yet.
There's been research.
You're allowed to read.
No, this guy's mistaken because, you know,
DARPA's
I
probably...
assure you there has been research done on this.
Yeah, and I'm sure that it's not... Your best interests are not held in mind. Let alone regulations to limit the potential effects. But I couldn't imagine that it's all that great for you, he says. Wireless technologies are simply outpacing both research and regulation, and it could have disastrous effects for our health. A petition warning that microwave radiation from many popular wireless technologies may pose health risks has
5G.
gathered a whopping 250 signatures.
5G.
Yeah, while the scientific jury is still out on whether or not the particular devices can cause cancer, animal studies on the kind of radio frequency radiation that they emit, which is used in Bluetooth, cellular, and Wi-Fi transmissions, has suggested a link to cancer. And in some cases, the levels of radiation found to be carcinogenic were significantly lower than the maximum allowed by federal and international guidelines.
You don't say. Because that's what you get when they regulate. It doesn't even fucking matter.
Yeah, but together Apple and Beats wireless headphones account for 40% of the market share. But the devices could be pumping more than Beats into wearers' heads, like orders to kill. AirPods, like most small wireless Bud-style headphones, wirelessly connect with the phone via Bluetooth, popular short-distance radio communication technology. Essentially anything that communicates wirelessly using electromagnetic energy uses electromagnetic waves of varying types. Bluetooth operates on one form involving low-power radio waves.
Everyone will pay for their own slavery.
Yep. The most obvious and well-established link of radio waves is that at high levels they can generate heat and cause burns. Scientists are still working out the effects of long-term exposure to low-power radio waves. That merely causes tumors. When they have exposed animals to this form of radiation, reproductive, neurological, and genetic damages become more common in these animals than would be expected in a normal sample of the same animals. So, yep, you're cooking your goddamn brains with your AirPods. Have fun.
It's crazy, man. I like I said, I've seen a bunch of people wearing them at work and stuff, and I just like, at first I'm like, what the hell is that? It just looks so weird anyway, man. It's like,
you know what? I have to imagine that if you're willing to put those things in your ears and let them do their thing, there's probably not a whole lot of value being lost. You know what I mean? Like, a healthy gene pool cleans itself, does it not? I mean,
oh man. So coming out of the Total Information Awareness Department, how long are we before we've got communist cars teaching your children?
Sucker blood.
Just like the blue chickens.
I don't know. I'm intrigued. Tell me.
In-car monitoring.
Will we be
surveillance tech
will we be
make
throwing cars out of helicopters?
Yeah, surveillance tech will make your car less private. Everything you do in your car may soon be noticed. I got some personal insight into this for you guys too. Let's get in a little.
Will a communist car not stop to get food?
It was a little late on that one. Your car has been along a sanctuary on wheels, but that won't be true for much longer. Car manufacturers will soon be adding radar and lasers inside the cabin to monitor who you are and what you do. That will mean even more of your personal habits being tracked. Oh,
wait.
Oh,
you guys
shit.
are Nazis. No, we're not.
That's what I'm saying, man. Let me check and see. Let me check your in-car flight recorder to see if you were consuming marijuana while you were driving up the road.
Mm-hmm.
Or drinking alcohol. Your car has long been a sanctuary on wheels, but that won't be true for much longer. Yeah, I already said that. Millimeter wave radar is perhaps the most intriguing in-car detection tech. The apparatus itself can be compact because its frequency is so high and therefore its emitted wavelength is short. I've seen several examples about the size of a car deck that can be easily mounted on the headliner of a car and look down at its cabin. Texas Instruments has been showing car makers how that view can not only detect objects in a vehicle but also classify them as adult, child, or even dog.
Huh.
Alright, so this is a good and a bad thing. Alright, because it's good because it's increased occupant detection systems, which will result in better, more intelligent airbag deployments and safer cars.
Man, fuck that. Burn these things out.
All right, but on the other hand, you give them an inch, something like this comes out, it doesn't just do the good it's supposed to do. It gets fucking, exploited 9 times out of 10 by the government,
Yeah. Look, you put tape over your laptop's camera for a reason, okay? You put tape over your phone's camera for a reason.
So this millimeter wave radar thing is pretty interesting too, because cars use this for you've seen these intelligent cruise control systems that detect cars, and I'm not sure if Tesla uses them for their auto driving or not, but it's essentially a radar. It's like a bat. You're a bat driving up the road. It's like bah bah bah, and it's checking for shit by how it bounces back. So Startup Kerecis imagines its radar-based system monitoring the respiration, heart rates of everyone in the car, with particular focus on sensing a child that might be hidden from view in the back and potentially left behind in the car. Your child is now property of Carl's Jr.
Seriously.
You're an unfit mother.
But remember, you should leave something important like your phone in the back seat so you won't forget about your kid.
Unlike other smart sensing scenarios, like an Amazon Go store where cameras dominate, car interiors are cramped and filled with obstructions like seats. Radar has the benefit of being able to see through a lot of things that block a camera's view. Now, speaking of deadly radiation, what kind of studies have been done on the effects of this millimeter wave radar on you? Now you're talking about taking something they use to detect cars and stuff and just beaming it to your face the entire fucking time you're in the car.
Yo, you won't even need like a tinfoil hat won't be enough. You'll need like a nickel chromium foil ninja mask.
Dude, if they're excuse me, if they're gonna spy on you like that for real, in the name of safety or whatever, why not just put some fucking webcams in there and have some kind of basic logic system that can detect shit in the frame like they do for VR or whatnot, instead of blasting you with radiation that's gonna
it's
do
more fun
God
that
knows
way.
what to you?
It's more fun that way.
I mean, shit, man.
Because that way it can be. Remember, it's compartmentalization. So you got one branch of people that's dedicated to nuking you with radio waves and making sure you get the cancers.
It didn't even dawn on me, but I'm going to look into this now because, I wonder how similar this millimeter wave radar is to the machines at the airport, the body scanners.
Oh, yeah. Michael Chertoff's porno scanners?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Even biometrics that aren't necessarily gathered by the car can be used to monitor you. Be Secure said that each of us has a unique ECG, EKG signature that can be used to unlock a car or monitor our condition while driving. Oh my God! So you're gonna be able to unlock your car with your brain waves.
And see, this is getting back to that augmented reality, synthetic telepathy.
Right.
Now you're operating your car and driving with synthetic telepathy.
I have a problem with this because how is this gonna work? Now, if you lose your fancy key to your new car, right? That does the Bluetooth and all that fucking shit and doesn't even have a key.
Yeah.
You have to come to someone like me and pay me a bunch of money so I can register it to the car. Right? Is this like a process now where you come in with your car and I like put your key on your head for a little while and I hit some buttons on a laptop and then I put it to the car and I hit some buttons on the car? This is weird, man.
Well, actually,
I do not like the way this shit is going.
The way the key takes your biosigns is it's also a suppository.
Ready the anal probe.
Oh.
Anal probe is ready.
So you gotta take the key and you gotta probe yourself with it.
All right, so
for
not
about
all
10-15 minutes.
Not all car cabin radar is about our bodies and faces.
Yeah, but what happens when you're just having a shitty day and your biosigns or your biofeedback's all fucked up and your car decides that you're
it's
not
like you're having a fucking heart attack right now because you're all stressed out and you're stuck in fucking traffic too, and it's getting worse and you're getting pissed off and you can't smoke any weed because the car is watching you.
Yeah. I'm saying. Fucking Nazi mobiles.
Jesus Christ, man. So not all car cabin radar is about our bodies and faces. VAR is working with auto mechatronics company Bros to sense obstacles in the path of a car door, including nearby poles, walls, cyclists, or other parked cars, and then block the door from opening too far via a limiter. Fuck that. Let them bust their goddamn door up for being stupid. You can't look out the fucking window and see if there's something there. You gotta put a radar in your fucking door, you idiot. Give me a goddamn break, man.
They're literally trying to stupid-proof the world and making it exceedingly stupid.
And it's not going to do nothing but give everybody 400,000 fucking tumors.
So radar is far from the only game in town. Cameras are already used in a few cars to monitor a driver's gaze and eye state for inattention and drowsiness. The Cadillac CT6 pushed this envelope with its Super Cruise partial autonomy that watches the driver's face to determine if they're looking away from the road for too long. A huge number of similar applications are about to arrive from Mazda, Hyundai, Kia, BMW, and autonomous EV startup Byton.
Yo, I thought the fucking seatbelt Nazis were bad. You know, when you get in the car and the newer ones and you don't put the seatbelt on, it's like ding, 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 ding. Nah, dude. Now they're looking. You're looking away from the road too long? Like, who the fuck are you to tell me what to do, car?
Look.
I'm telling you, man, communist cars will be teaching your children.
Back in the good old days, a man was able to take bong hits while cranking one out on an 8-hour drive. And couldn't nobody stop him.
Joining cameras in the car may be vertical cavity surface emitting lasers, or VCSEL. The same tech that powers Apple Face ID. Makers like True Lumina are showing how it can tell an occupant's state, identity, and maybe even intent. Oh, dude.
So we are talking about, like, the thought police, like, for real.
In your car, bro. In your car, man. You are an unfit mother. Finally, there's gesture control, which today is a little more than a parlor trick. Sensing only a few big, coarse gestures that don't even work half the time. But Google's Project Soli recently won FCC approval to use millimeter wave radar to pick up fine gestures with a level of nuance that could finally liberate controls from screens, knobs, and voice in a way that's better, not just music. See, I wonder if they're going to incorporate this millimeter wave radar shit into VR technology, too, to be able to track fingers and whatnot.
This whole thing, honestly...
They'll be like, nah, we can't do that because it causes cancer. We'll put it in everybody's fucking cars.
I'm telling you, the whole thing just makes you want to freak out.
You know Alex Jones' impression?
Oh, man. Well, this one's not loading, but what's it?
What was it?
The NBC Tech News. Oh, you know what? That's why.
What department? Total information?
No, yeah, it's right there. Hang on, I got it.
Oh. All of your profile pics belong to us?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not loading because of the thing.
Yeah, hang on, I fixed it. Yeah, so this is coming from NBC News. Facial recognition's dirty little secret. Millions of online photos scraped without consent.
It's dirty.
People's faces are being used without their permission in order to power technology that could eventually be used will eventually be used to surveil them, you lying bastards.
No kidding.
Legal experts say. Well, of course they're lying bastards. They're legal experts, but there we go. By Olivia Solon. Facial recognition can log you into your iPhone, track criminals through crowds, and identify loyal customers in stores. Unless those loyal customers happen to be juggalos, in which case their face paint defeats this evil shit. But I digress.
I'm not a fucking cult.
Dude, I hate this, man. I don't want to be an IP address either.
You
man.
are a data
I'm
figure.
sick of living in a zoo, and I don't want to be an IP address. God damn it.
The technology, which is imperfect but improving rapidly, is based on algorithms that learn how to recognize human faces and the hundreds of ways in which each one is unique. To do this well, the algorithms must be fed hundreds of thousands of images of a diverse array of faces. Increasingly, these photos are coming from the internet, where they're swept up by the millions without the knowledge of the people who posted them, categorized by age, gender, skin tone, and dozens of other metrics, and shared with researchers at universities and companies. Well, to whoever is illegally studying my pictures, or, without my permission studying my pictures, suck one. But anyhow, as the algorithms... Yeah, exactly. As the algorithms get more advanced, meaning they're better able to identify women or people of color, a task that they've historically struggled with, legal experts and civil rights advocates we're the individual rights advocates, are sounding on the alarm on researchers' use of photos of ordinary people. These people's faces are being used without their consent in order to power technology that will eventually be used to surveil them. That's a particular concern for minorities who could be profiled and targeted, the experts and advocates say. This is just the dirty little secret of AI training sets. Researchers often just grab whatever images are available in the wild, I guess the jungle of the internet, the Silicon Savannah, says NYU School of Law professor Jason Schultz. The latest company to enter this territory was IBM, which in January released a collection of nearly 1 million photos that were taken from the photo hosting site Flickr and coded to describe the subject's appearance. IBM promoted the collection to researchers as a progressive step towards reducing bias in facial recognition, but some of the photographers whose images were included in IBM's dataset were surprised and disconcerted when NBC News told them that their photographs had been annotated with details including facial geometry and skin tone and may be used to develop facial recognition algorithms. NBC News obtained IBM's dataset from a source after the company declined to share it, saying it could only be used by academic or corporate research groups. And, of course, government think tanks. None of the people I photographed had any idea their images were being used in this way, said Greg Peveril-Conti, a Boston-based public relations executive who has more than 700 photos in IBM's collection, known as a training data set. It seems a little sketchy that IBM can use these pictures without saying anything to anybody. Well, come on. We're talking the guys who brought you the Hollerith machine. You think they're going to follow any sort of ethics? Wait, you guys are Nazis. John Smith, who oversees AI research at IBM, said that the company was committed to protecting the privacy of individuals and will work with anyone who requests a URL to be removed from the dataset. Despite IBM's assurances that Flickr users can opt out of the database, NBC News discovered that it's almost impossible to get the photos removed. IBM requires photographers to email links to the photos that they want removed, but the company has not publicly shared the list of Flickr users and photos included in the dataset. So it's kind of a crapshoot. There's no easy way of finding out whose photos are included. IBM did not respond to questions about this process. To see if your Flickr photos are part of the dataset, enter your username in a tool NBC News created based on the IBM dataset. So if you want to check that out, it's over at it's over at NBC News. But yeah, this is pretty disturbing stuff. It's a long article, so we're not going to read the whole thing, but under the subheading, how IBM is using the face database, it says that IBM released its collection of annotated images to other researchers so it could be used to develop fairer facial recognition systems. This means that systems can be more accurately identify people of all races, ages, and genders. For the facial recognition systems to perform as desired, the outcomes must be increasingly accurate. Training data must be diverse and offer a breadth of knowledge, said IBM's John Smith, which, damn, that sounds like a fake name, in a blog post announcing the release of the data. The dataset does not link any of the photos to people's faces to their names, which means any system trained to use the photos would not be able to identify these named individuals. But civil liberty advocates and tech ethics researchers have still questioned the motives of IBM, which has a history of selling surveillance tools that have been criticized for infringing on civil liberties, like the goddamned Hollerith machine, okay? The thing that they used to categorize, the punch card system that the Nazis used to categorize political prisoners.
You guys are Nazis.
Yeah, made by IBM.
This is fucking ridiculous, man.
Yeah, so, yeah, no. We recognize that societal bias is not something we can fully tackle with science, but our aim is to address mathematical and algorithmical bias, Smith said. Experts note that the distinction between the research wings and the commercial operations of corporations such as IBM and Facebook is a blurry one. Ultimately, IBM owns any intellectual property developed by its research unit, so even when algorithms are developed by academic researchers using non-commercial data sets, these algorithms are often later used by businesses, said Brian Brackeen, former CEO of the facial recognition company Kairos. As an analogy, think of it as the money laundering of facial recognition. You're laundering the IP and privacy rights out of the faces. IBM said it would not use the diversity in faces data set in this way, which, take them at their word, I guess. We promise.
Why not?
So the article goes in depth and brings up some of the people who who were included in this data set. They bring up the few options for opting out, which means that, you can contact IBM with individual links to photographs that you want removed from the data set, either ones that... check it out. We'll post it on the page. When we get back, we're going to go on a quick break, guys, but when we get back, we got some things that...
We're gonna check in on the simulation that you guys call reality, and coming to you with some latest breaking news, as in breaking down.
We've got superstorms. We got brain-eating amoebas. We've got rich people going to the moon. All kinds of stuff. Time machines, fun stuff. We'll be back in a little bit. Don't get on the ships.
Hey guys, it's the real Space Jesus here. None of that blue chicken bullshit. You're watching Reality Brief.
I'm not in a fucking cult. 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 I'm not in a fucking cult.
Hi there, it's Justin. Is there a band that you love and you wish you could turn everybody else in the world on to? That's us every week over at Deprogram. Get together, we talk about a band, we give you a top 10 starter kit for you and anybody else who wants to listen to that band. It's pretty simple, it's a great time, and it's a great way for you to discover new artists. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you can download your fine podcasts. That's Deprogram. Learn and love with people.
After the break, how to survive an encounter with a telepathic spider.
And is your neighbor involved in black operative mind crime? Ways to find out.
Find out on Reality Brief. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Can you hear me now?
I disagree.
Well, that's why you're wrong.
So wait, we just accidentally streamed that?
Mm-hmm.
So the entire world saw that?
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me now? Hello?
What? Transporter room. I need you to need a site-to-site transport directly onto the toilet. We've only got 10 minutes for this break.
Man, I told you to speak into the microphone.
Blue chickens. Look, they're gonna be moving into your neighborhood. They're gonna be passing your laws. They're gonna be teaching your kids. You know.
God, I'm so fucking hungry, man. I haven't eaten dinner yet. My ass. God. Hello? I don't know if it's working, Dan.
It probably isn't.
Shit, man.
Why don't you just get the goddamn Google machine to fix it, huh?
Fuck. Hello? Whoa. What do you mean it's on fire? What? Get a text. Is it them?
Shit!
Go.
Hey, buddy. Want to buy some memes? This one's banned in the EU. Only $10 for the dank ones.
Oh, hi, Space Jesus again. If you're looking for a little redemption, hop on over to patreon.com/realitybrief or redbubble.com/people/realitybrief and think about giving a little something to that cause. Why donate to the pot and church when you can donate to some pot and
Whoa, hot dump. Hey guys, we're back.
What's
It
good,
is
everybody?
hour 2.
The break is over. We're on to the second can of energy drink.
I wasn't quite ready for that re-entrance. Guys, I gotta admit, it caught me by surprise there. But we are back, and it is hour 2, and I am Dom still.
I'm still Dan, at least in this incarnation.
You're watching Reality Brief.
Damn right, Jesus.
Thanks, Jesus. Space Jesus. What's wrong with Jesus? Don't be shit talking Jesus. He's our bud. Me and Jesus,
Seriously.
we go way back, man. Way back. I'm talking like grammar school.
Mm-hmm. He still owes me a nickel. Anyhow.
So you ever just been sitting there and being like, you know what? It's fucking none of this shit actually exists.
It really doesn't.
I mean, have you ever felt that way? I mean, if you have, there's good news for you, because a quantum experiment suggests there's no such thing as objective reality.
It doesn't exist.
Physicists have long suspected that quantum mechanics allows two observers to experience different, conflicting realities. Now they've performed the first experiment that proves it.
Yep.
Hey, you think their proof is better than some stitched together Photoshop images?
Yeah, I think it is actually, because you can kind of prove that this case exists. So, who out there has heard of the Wigner's friend experiment?
Wigner's friend.
You don't have any friends, Wigner.
Wigner, what's the matter for you? You ain't got the friends.
But if you happen to be a friend of Wigner's and you feel like calling in, the phone number is 757-528-8130. That's right. So, assuming that you guys haven't hung out with Wigner, let's just dive right in.
Wigner.
Back in 1961, Nobel Prize-winning physicist Eugene Wigner outlined a thought experiment that demonstrated one of the lesser-known paradoxes of quantum mechanics. The experiment shows that the strange nature of the universe allows for two observers, Wigner and Wigner's supposed friend, maybe even Wigner's enemy.
Oh, Wigner.
Depends. To experience different realities. And since then, physicists have used this Wigner's friend thought experiment to sort of explore the nature of measurement and to argue over whether or not objective facts can exist. And that's important because scientists carry out experiments to establish objective facts. But if they experience different realities, then the argument goes, how can they agree on what these facts may be? Might it be that our science knows nothing? Anyhow, provided some...
You don't say.
Yeah, so this has provided some entertaining fodder for after-dinner conversation, but the thought experiment has never been more than just a thought experiment. But last year, physicists noticed that recent advances in quantum technologies have made it possible to reproduce the Wigner's friend test in a real experiment. In other words, it ought to be possible to create different realities and then compare them in the lab to find out whether they can be reconciled. And, you know this guy, don't you, Don? Massimiliano Proietti at Harriet White University in Edinburgh, and a few colleagues say that they performed this experiment for the first time. They've created different realities and compared them. Their conclusion is that Wigner was correct. These realities can be made irreconcilable, so that it's impossible to agree on objective facts about an experiment.
You don't know that.
You're right. I mean, perhaps this in and of itself is an objective fact that cannot be established.
Because right now, at the same time, I'm reading this article, and you're sitting there.
Far out. Well, anyhow, Wigner's original thought experiment is straightforward in principle. It begins that a single polarized photon that, when measured, can have either a horizontal polarization or a vertical polarization. But before the experiment, according to the laws of quantum mechanics, the photon exists in both polarization states at the same time, a so-called superposition, Schrödinger's cat. Wigner imagined a friend in a different lab measuring the state of this photon and storing the result while Wigner observed from afar. Wigner has no information about his friend's measurement, and so is forced to assume that the photon and the measurement of it are in a superposition of all possible outcomes of the experiment. Wigner can even perform an experiment to determine whether or not the superposition exists. This is a kind of interference experiment showing that the photon and the measurement are indeed in a superposition. From Wigner's point of view, this is a fact. The superposition exists. And this fact suggests that a measurement cannot have taken place, but this is in stark contrast to the point of view of the friend, who has indeed measured the photon's polarization and recorded it. The friend can even call Wigner and say that the measurement has been done, provided that the outcome is not revealed. So the two realities are at odds with each other. In this case, yes, it is very subjective. To one person, a fact exists. To the other person, the fact doesn't exist. This calls into question the objective status of the facts established by the two observers, say Proyedi and company. That's a theory, but last year, Koslov Bruckner at the University of Vienna in Austria came up with a way to recreate the Wigner's friend experiment in the lab by means of techniques involving the entanglement of many particles at the same time. And this time, they used a state-of-the-art 6-photon experiment. That's more photons than before. We realized this extended Wigner's friend scenario, they say. They used these 6 entangled photons to create 2 alternate realities, one representing Wigner and one representing Wigner's friend. Wigner's friend measures the polarization of a photon, stores the result. Then Wigner performs an interference measurement to determine if the measurement and the photon are in a superposition. The experiment produces an unambiguous result. It turns out that both realities can coexist, even though they produce irreconcilable outcomes, just as Wigner predicted. And that raises some fascinating questions that are forcing physicists to reconsider the nature of reality. But doesn't this just boil down to you don't know that?
Pretty much. But I think what he's trying to say is if Wigner's light particle leaves California and Wigner's friend's light particle leaves Australia, that when they interact in the middle point,
one's going like this,
it'll be
and
the
then
shebang.
the other's going like this.
It's like shebang. Just like that.
Yeah. Well, the next step is to go further, to construct experiments creating increasingly bizarre alternate realities that cannot be reconciled.
The next step was to change articles.
Well, yeah, that's creating an alternate reality too. But while we're at it, let's go big. Let's create an alternate reality
where the segue works.
Where the segue works and where Nas actually contacts us for a sponsorship.
Oh,
it's gonna happen.
And finally, Dan, the Mossad check will come. I promise you. And you'll get your share.
Yes, can we please create that reality?
You'll get your share, Dan, I promise. So,
all $10 of it.
Speaking of created realities, simulations. I mean, to me, that quantum shit is just more evidence of simulation.
They found a glitch in the code, huh?
So look, I'm already beyond being mad about living in a zoo. Now I'm just mad at living in a simulation.
Yeah, it's not even a real zoo. It's just SimZoo.
So, Coma.ai.
It's like Zoo Tycoon.
Founder George Hotz wants to free humanity from the AI simulation.
Break the shackles that bind us. Lead us to glory.
Break the zeros and ones that code us. Well, we'd be dead then, so maybe we shouldn't break the simulation.
Well, this guy, George Hotz, definitely wants to. He wants to do just that. He wants to jailbreak the simulation. You gotta love this picture. I mean, automatically.
Dude, what the fuck?
You don't see the Illuminati symbolism there?
Well, no. Look, the guy is.
I see it.
It's a self-driving car. Okay, so he's got a self-driving car startup. So that's what the picture is about. It's not. Of course, you're gonna see that and be like, "This dude is loony AI simulations." But so what keeps him up at night is not whether or not his autonomous car company will be successful or what other entrepreneurial venture he may embark on next. No, instead, Hotz says he's tortured by the possibility that all of us are in an advanced simulation observed by either an omnipotent or extraterrestrial or supernatural being, or an artificial intelligence far beyond the realm of human conception and understanding. Now, our buddy Phantom Spy personally subscribes to an artificial intelligence at the center of the Earth, I think it was. Or it might have been the moon.
I've heard wackier.
Might have been the moon. But, so
can we transition to the reality where, like, we get picked up by beneficial ETs and given the grand tour?
No, the flying saucermen are the flying saucermen.
Right?
There's no evidence this is not true. An animated HOTS told a crowd at the SXSW, so it was at South by Southwest talk on Friday, aptly titled, Jailbreaking the Simulation.
Digital!
It's digital. And build on the festival's website as an exploration of whether breaking out of a simulated universe means we can meet God and kill him.
Laughs in Friedrich Nietzsche.
I'm not in a fucking cult.
I'm not either, so I kind of might be cool with that.
It's easy to imagine things that are so much smarter than you, and they could build a cage that you wouldn't even recognize.
Oh shit. Been telling you the whole time.
The theory known widely as the simulation hypothesis posits that life on Earth, and by extension the solar system and even the universe itself, is potentially a computer simulation, either a video game or some other form of entertainment for advanced life forms, or possibly some type of AI-guided simulation of ancestral life created by a far distant future version of humanity. It's a popular proposition that in recent years has been publicly entertained by big names in tech like Elon Musk, who we've got an article about him coming up here.
To be fair, what hasn't Elon Musk publicly entertained? Hookers?
I'm sure, yeah, at least privately entertained those.
We're talking publicly.
And has been more seriously considered and unpacked by prominent philosophers by like Nick Bostrom. HOTS, it would appear, as one of the believers, or so he would have told the crowd at South by Southwest Think. The 29-year-old entrepreneur who rose to notoriety as a teenager when he became the first hacker to unlock the first-generation iPhone has always been an off-the-wall, outside-the-box thinker in the buttoned-up, anodyne world of Silicon Valley. I always figured Silicon Valley wanted to be full of off-the-wall, out-the-box thinkers, especially when you watch shows like Silicon Valley. You know what I mean? That's kind of what they tell you. But he landed himself in hot water when he jailbroke Sony's PlayStation 3, leading to a contentious lawsuit that was later settled. Sony mad, bro. But the event set HOTS down the path of a tech industry outsider ever since, leading to short-lived stints at Facebook, Google, and San Francisco-based AI company Vicarious. In 2015, he founded self-driving startup Comma.ai, which aims to democratize access to self-driving software and is predicated on HOTS' belief that the current direction of the autonomous industry is a giant scam.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that, Don?
Of course it is.
But at South by Southwest, it appears HOTS has committed himself to letting loose and pushing the boundaries of acceptable marketing conference subject matter. His talks there, including one 3 years ago, in which he promised to end capitalism. Oh, come on.
Wait. You guys are Nazis.
Nein, we're not.
I don't know if that would have been appropriate.
Wait, you guys are commies. Feature a seemingly unhinged version of himself who rants with glee. Much better, thank you. With glee and whips up the crowd into a French frenzy. And the audience is seemingly like-minded types who followed Hotz's pinballing career trajectory love it. Yesterday, Hotz spoke to a room full of roughly 100 people or so, while sporting a hoodie, a bushy beard, and an unkempt mop of curly hair. So basically looking like every other dude in Silicon Valley, yeah. Throughout the talk, he likened programming to magic, considered how much he would like to one day die, and then said one of the most upsetting aspects of life in the future will be when we realize we probably don't have free will.
How do you feel about that, man? You likening programming to magic?
I'm still looking for those cheat codes, but they're out there somewhere. At one point, Hot said that he was even entertaining founding a religion dedicated to breaking out of the simulated universe.
I'm not in a fucking cult.
I'm thinking about starting a church. There are a lot of structural problems with companies. There's no real way to win, Hot said.
Plus you got all them taxes and shit.
Yeah, referring to how at the end outcome of any capitalist venture is always to maximize profit, sell the company, or combust, all of which Hotz considers failures. With companies, you only really lose. I think churches might be more aligned towards these goals, and the goal of the church would be realigning society's efforts towards getting out of the simulation. It sounds an awful lot like what Anthony Lewandowski, the infamous Uber and Google engineer who spawned a multi-million-dollar lawsuit between the two companies, is doing with the Way of the Future, an organization dedicated to creating a peaceful and respectful transition of who is in charge of the planet by force once machines surpass human intelligence.
I'm not in a fucking cult.
I don't know how close you guys think the singularity is, but I think it's very close. Once we reach the singularity, if we have the same motivations we have now, primarily power over other people, things are going to be horrific. Hotz added, getting the right people together and starting to say, what does it mean to get out? No quackery, no crap. Everything you say better be rationally justifiable. It's hard to seriously to know how seriously to take Hotz sometimes. He strikes me as someone who says something to get a reaction or to verbalize his inner monologue as a way of making sense of it. And he said as much on stage. Do I actually believe it? Some days, yes. Some days, I don't know how I would feel about something until I say it out loud. The crowd didn't much care either way. During the Q&A, an audience member asked Hotz if he would consider partnering with transhumanists, people who believe in humanity's eventual evolution by way of merging the body and mind with robotics and AI to found his church. Hotz was rather ambivalent towards the idea. Perhaps he didn't think people would take him at his word, but if he does start a church, the sermon he gave at South by Southwest yesterday was delivered to a room of would-be believers.
I'm not in a fucking cult.
Personally,
Right, so
I
more
don't think...
fucking cults, man.
I don't think... You know what? Like, a transhumanist cult doesn't sound that awful. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I think we should stick with the whole cult of Bacchus. I think that's a lot more fun.
Do I know you?
Beer.
Do I really know you?
I think you do.
Did you really just say a transhumanist cult doesn't sound too awful?
I mean, it sounds a lot better than a doomsday cult. It sounds better than the Branch Davidians or, Om Shinrikyo.
I'll take blue chickens for 500 Alex.
Yo, I'm telling you, the Church of Bacchus is where it's at. No doomsday shit. Just fucking lots of booze, lots of big parties.
What about the time machine? Take me to the time machine.
Yeah, we got you got a time machine?
I got a time machine. Oh yeah.
I think it costs like 20 billion. But yeah.
I like money.
What's the plus and minus?
So do we want to read the
20
version of the
billion?
story from the Sun, or do we want to read the version from Fizzorg?
The fucking sun, man.
Yeah, that's usually a little more fun.
Yeah.
So scientists have built the world's
Look
first
at the video.
time machine
It's
in an
starting out with
experiment,
Quantum Leap, man. It's awesome.
which defies the laws of physics. Lead researcher Dr. Gordy Lasovic said by putting scattered electrons back into their original shape, they had effectively created a state which went against the direction of time.
Just let the video play. That's what I was trying to tell you. Sorry, Dad.
Working with electrons in the bizarre realm of quantum mechanics, they first created the equivalent of a break for a game of pool. The balls scattered, and according to the laws of physics, should have appeared to have split in a haphazard way. But researchers managed to make them reform into their original order, looking as if they were turning back time.
What?
Lead researcher, Dr. Lasovic of Moscow's Laboratory of the Physics of Quantum Information at the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, said, "We have artificially created a state that evolves in a direction opposite to that of the thermodynamic arrow of time." His team used a rudimentary quantum computer, which carries information on subatomic particles. He hopes that in their findings in journal scientific reports will help improve processing power. So they have a nice big friendly diagram right down here. And not quite like Doctor Who, but even Time Lords had to start somewhere. So how does it work? Well, if a time machine is actually a rudimentary quantum computer made of electron qubits, or this time machine, that's what that is. And a qubit is the basic unit of quantum information, a unit that represents 1, 0, and both 1 and 0 at the same time. Researchers ran an evolution program which caused the qubits to enter a complicated changing pattern of zeros and ones. During this process, the order was lost, like hitting balls at the start of a game of pool. And then a separate program then modified the state of this quantum computer so that it evolves backwards, returning from chaos to order. This allowed the qubits to return to their original starting point. Scientists were able to perform this so-called time reversal successfully 85% of the time with 2 qubits, and it had a 50% success rate with 3 qubits. The idea was to test out a theory on whether or not time can reverse itself, at least for a single particle for a fraction of a second. And when scientists observe an electron, they can't figure out its exact position, but can determine roughly where it's located. Over time, it becomes more difficult to tell where that electron is, because the region of space containing it spreads out, or rather it becomes more chaotic. So this increases the uncertainty of the electron's position, a core principle of Schrödinger's equation. The team was able to calculate the probability of a smeared out electron spontaneously localizing back to its recent past, traveling through time in effect. And it turns out that if you observe 10 billion freshly localized electrons every second for 13.7 billion years, you'd only see this happen once. And even then, the electron would only travel no more than a 10 billionth of a second into the past. That's not ideal, because not being able to predict time reversal makes the system useless to scientists. That's why it's so important that scientists were able to successfully reverse time on demand with a quantum computer.
They gotta have the flux capacitor to do that.
Yeah, of course, and they even got a picture of one. So, let's see. That's pretty much the end of that. But neat. So they were able to warp a one subatomic particle back in time for a fraction of a second. Yeah, it's a start. That's something else. So we got time.
Listen to this though. Okay, put the fucking DARPA principle to it, man.
Yeah, if they're just letting you know this now, then they're way further ahead.
They're already fucking doing it.
But if you got a time machine, you got to have a Hanabu too, right?
Absolutely.
So if if we're gonna have a Hanabu, then we're probably gonna need a Treeborg engine. And this is coming from futurity.org. When liquid metal turns to plasma, the physics get weird. Researchers have discovered a way to turn a liquid metal into a plasma and observe the temperature when the liquid's under high density conditions and it crosses over to a plasma state. So most people are familiar with three states of matter, right? Solid, liquid, and gas. But there's other forms too. Plasmas, for example, and they're actually the most abundant form of matter in the universe, found throughout the solar system, in the sun, on other planetary bodies. The whole solar system is basically awash in a weak plasma of hydrogen, known as the solar wind. So scientists are still looking to understand the fundamentals of this state of matter, which is turning out to be more and more significant, not only in explaining how the universe works, but also in harnessing material for alternative forms of energy, like Treeborg engines. The new observations, which appear in physical review letters, have implications for better understanding of stars and planets and could aid in the realization of a controlled nuclear fusion, a promising alternative energy source that has eluded scientists publicly for decades.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think that there was plasma drives claimed to be used in the covert space programs.
Yeah, I would assume so. So let's see. We kind of know what a plasma is, but it's a superheated gas. It's a hot soup of free moving electrons and ions, atoms that have lost all their electrons. So atomic nuclei floating around in this soup of electricity. So it generates a lot of heat. As Mohammed Zaghou, a research associate at the University of Rochester's Laboratory for Laser Energetics, LLE, and his colleagues observed, there's another way to create a plasma under high-density conditions. You take a liquid metal and heat it to very high temperatures, it'll produce a plasma. Now, what did we always hear about the engines in TR-3Bs? That they use a plasma made of mercury, right?
No, and they didn't have anything to do with
remember
plasma.
all the mercury that was found in the U-boats?
Yeah, but it wasn't. They weren't doing plasma.
No, they
were producing electricity with it.
How do you think that happens, though? That's what I'm saying. The shit gets heated up and turned into a plasma.
Oh yeah, you know the fucking glowing Foo Fighter ball shield thing.
Bro, I'm telling you, fucking one of the so they say that there's under high density conditions, heating a liquid metal to very high temperatures will also produce a dense plasma. The transition to the latter has not yet been observed scientifically before, outside of New Schwabenland, and is precisely what we did, Zaghou says. And one of the unique aspects of this observation is that liquid metals at high densities exhibit quantum properties. However, if they're allowed to cross over into the plasma state at high densities, they'll exhibit classical properties. So, in the 1920s, Fermi and Dirac did some experiments with this, but they hypothesized that under extremely high densities or extremely low temperatures, electrons or protons have to assume certain quantum properties that classical physics don't describe. A plasma doesn't follow this paradigm. So in order to observe a liquid metal crossing over to a plasma, the researchers started off with a liquid metal deuterium. It kind of acts like a liquid, and they increased the density and cooled it to 21 degrees Kelvin. Negative 422 degrees Fahrenheit, which is fucking cold. So the researchers then used the LLE's omega lasers to set off a strong shockwave through the ultra-cool liquid deuterium. This shockwave compressed the stuff to pressures up to 5 million times greater than atmospheric pressure, increased its temperature to nearly 180,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The sample started off completely transparent, and as the pressure rose, it transformed into a shiny metal. And apparently it's really reflective too. So by monitoring the reflectance of the sample as a function of its temperature, they were able to observe the precise conditions where the simple lustrous liquid metal transforms into a dense plasma. And yeah, so if they're just leaking this now, then yeah, it's been in use for a long time. That's the Nazi belt Diglocka. That's what was going on, dude. It had the gold gyroscope suspended inside of the sphere filled with red mercury.
I thought you subscribed to the what do you call it? Uranium enrichment theory.
Uranium enrichment theory?
You never heard that? Well, some folks think that the Nazi bell was a device used for enriching uranium, or something to do with heavy water or some shit like that.
Well, something like that would kick out a lot of radiation. But then, it also had the unexpected circumstances of creating an anti-gravity field and bouncing off the ceiling.
Yeah. Well, do you have proof there was a gyroscope in it?
I could do some digging, but I think I could find some references that bring that up. Yeah. So who knows what kind of
Fucking sorry. This is a family broadcast. Just kidding. It's not.
No, it's not at all.
Don't let your kids listen to this. If you do, you're a bad parent. The Phantom Universe. There's a new unknown messing with the cosmos.
As if we didn't already have enough.
Let me tell you something.
Look, there's known knowns and there's unknown unknowns.
Let me tell you a little something here, okay? There's always going to be more and more unknowns because guess what?
It's an infinite goddamn universe.
You ain't never gonna know it all. So quit it with that shit. There's a crisis brewing in the cosmos. Measurements over the past few years of the distances and velocities of faraway galaxies don't agree with the increasingly controversial standard model of the cosmos that has prevailed from the past 2 decades. That's like some George Soros standard model, man.
Just stop sucking George Soros' ding-a-ling.
Astronomers think that 9% of discrepancy in the value of a long-sought number called the Hubble constant, which describes how fast the universe is expanding, might be revealing something new and astounding about the universe. The cosmos has been expanding for 13.8 billion years.
Roughly.
You don't know that. And its present rate, that could be exactly right, and its present rate of expansion, known as the Hubble constant, gives the time elapsed since the Big Bang. However, the two best methods used to measure the Hubble constant do not agree. That's because it's one in reality and another.
Yeah, everyone's observing from their own subjective timeline.
Suggesting our understanding of the structure and history of the universe, called the standard cosmological model, may be wrong. You don't say. There was, writes Dennis Overby in New York Times Science, a disturbance in the force. Long ago,
when the universe was only about
100,000 years old. A buzzing, expanding mass of particles and radiation. A strange new energy field switched on. What the fuck is this guy on? He is awesome. Shit, this is great. That energy suffused space.
Yeah, it's
suffused space with kind of cosmic anti-gravity, delivering a not-so-gentle boost to the expansion of the universe. So it was like kickstart the Big Bang. It was like the little bang after the Big Bang. It was like the ripple bang.
Yeah, like somebody took the baby universe and they gave it some blow, and then the blow wore off because after another 100,000 years or so, the new field simply winked off, leaving no trace other than a speeded up universe.
And then the next thing you know, the little universe is over there stealing the big universe's TV so it could try and go get some crack.
Yeah.
There was, writes Dennis. Then, after another 100,000 years or so, the new field simply winked off.
Yeah, I already said that.
Oh, my bad.
Yep.
The reports overby is the strange-sounding story being promulgated by a handful of astronomers from Johns Hopkins University in a bold and speculative leap into the past. The team has posited the existence of this field to explain an astronomical puzzle. The universe seems to be expanding faster than it should be.
It just wants to get away from you.
Adding to the current scrum, there is already a force field called dark energy, making the universe expand faster. A new controversial report suggests this dark energy might be getting stronger, denser, leading to a future in which atoms are ripped apart as time ends. Amen.
Wow, they actually wrote that.
I didn't even have to add that.
Yeah, they actually wrote that.
Cthulhu gives darkness.
So the concept of dark energy emerging in phases hints at a link to, or between, two mysterious episodes in the history of the universe, with the first episode occurring when the universe was less than a Planck scale of a trillionth of a second old. At that moment, a fraction of a trillionth of a second of the Big Bang, this event, named inflation by cosmologist Alan Guth of MIT, smoothed and flattened the initial chaos in the universe observed today. But Overby observes, nobody knows what drove inflation. The second episode is unfolding today. Cosmic expansion is speeding up. But as Dr. Adam Rees, professor of astronomy and physics at Johns Hopkins and a senior member of the science staff at the Space Telescope Science Institute, said, this is not the first time the universe has been expanding too fast, but why? The issue first came to light in 1998, when Rees led a study for the High Z team, which provided the first direct and published evidence that the expansion of the universe was accelerating and filled with dark energy. This is incredibly strange because it actually makes sense to me that it went unnoticed, said Rees in an interview. I have absolutely no clue what dark energy is. It appears strong enough to push the entire universe, and its source is unknown, its location is unknown, and its physics are highly speculative.
I don't even know what the fuck that shit they're talking about is. It doesn't surprise me nobody knows about it.
Oh, I like money.
Yeah, so let's see. The two competing teams in 1998 asked whether the collective gravity of galaxies might be slowing the expansion of the universe to drag everything back together into a big crunch. And what they discovered was the opposite. The universe is expanding, it's accelerating. The expansion is accelerating under the influence of an anti-gravitational field or force called dark energy. They don't know if it's a field. The two teams won a Nobel Prize, and until the 90s, there were few reliable observations about the movement of this of the universe at the scale of the entire universe, which is the only scale that dark energy affects, really. So dark energy couldn't be seen until we could measure things very far away. Before his and his colleagues' discovery, many scientists posited that the rate at which the universe was expanding was decreasing. And Rees was awarded the Nobel Prize in conjunction with Brian Schmidt, who, like Rees, was a member of the High Z supernova search team, and Saul Perlmutter, head scientist of the Supernova Cosmology Project, a competitor to Rees's team that published a paper in 1998 corroborating the effects of Rees's 98 paper. It so happens, adds Overby, that this increase in dark energy would be enough to resolve the discrepancy in the measures of the Hubble constant. The bad news, says Robert Caldwell, a Dartmouth theoretical physicist, is that if this model is right, dark energy may be in a particularly virulent and most physicists say implausible form called phantom energy. Its existence would imply that things can lose energy by speeding up, for instance. Caldwell's research addresses questions about the basic properties of the universe: dark energy, dark matter, the cosmic microwave background, gravitational waves, and the ultimate fate of the universe. As the universe expands, Overby adds, the push from phantom energy would grow without bounds, eventually overcoming gravity and tearing apart first the Earth and then atoms themselves. So it'd just be like the whole universe turns into a black hole because everything gets ripped apart into subatomic dust. So, if it's real, we will learn new physics, said Wendy Friedman of the University of Chicago, who spent most of her career studying the expansion rate of the universe and the nature of dark energy. A decade ago, she led a team of 30 astronomers who carried out the Hubble Key Project to measure the current expansion rate of the universe. The project's final results determine the age of the universe as approximately 13.7 billion years, resolving a long-standing debate regarding previously wide-ranging estimates. So, yeah, this is pretty heavy stuff. So, who knows? Will the universe be, shredded to bits on the subatomic level one day? I don't know. It looks like we're going to need more information on that, but...
Nah, it'll reset before then.
For this study, the researchers modeled how many such observations would be needed to resolve the issue, measuring the Hubble constant accurately. We've calculated that by observing 50 binary neutron stars over the next decade, we'll have sufficient gravitational wave data to independently determine the best measurement of the Hubble constant. We should be able to detect enough mergers to answer this question in 5 to 10 years. Lead author Dr. Stephen Feeney of the Center for Computational Astrophysics at the Flatiron Institute in New York City said, "This will in turn lead to the most accurate picture of how the universe is expanding and will help us improve the standard cosmological model." Blech. Yeah. So, this is coming from Daily Galaxy. We'll go ahead and post the link in the group if you want to check out the whole thing. But, it's pretty cool. So, what if there is a, whole dimension of the universe that we just are completely ignorant to?
Obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I mean, there, kind of has to be. So, where do you want to go from here?
I don't know, man. Sorry, I got sidetracked. These headphones are fatiguing, man. I need to get the other set.
They're not even the wireless ones. They're not even...
Skidding bank. Dude, that's one sample we definitely need.
Right? So, my question is, if you had to listen to Reality Brief, wouldn't it be fucking cool if you could listen to it on a quantum radio? Because apparently that's a thing.
I think you can.
Yeah, this is coming from the Futurism article.
Man, I heard we had some ET listeners one time.
Uh-huh.
So I'm wondering, maybe they're using the quantum radio.
Yeah, I would hope so. Or at least something better than AM or FM. Wait, we're not even on AM or FM, so...
No, remember, we're not
I'm not
on
sure how
radio
that would
anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's not... Yeah. Oh, well. Well, screw them. Anyhow, researchers tune into the smallest radio frequencies in quantum mechanics, and this is coming from Futurism. But, yeah, check it out. It's a quantum radio. Pretty neat, huh?
So how does that work, then?
A weak radio signal isn't the only problem when you're trying to tune into your favorite radio station. A weak signal is a huge problem for MRIs in hospitals and telescopes peering into space. Normally, we fix a weak signal by moving closer to the source or picking up a different radio station, but what if instead we could just listen more carefully? Scientists at the Delft University of Technology have created a quantum circuit that allows them to listen to the weakest radio signal allowed by quantum mechanics. The research is published Friday in the journal Science. One quirk of quantum mechanics is that the theory that energy can only come in set units called quanta. It's only possible to have whole units, nothing in between. Say I'm pushing a kid on a swing, said lead researcher Mario Gelli. In the classical theory of physics, if I give a kid a push on a swing, if I want the kid to go a little faster, I can give him a small push, giving them more speed and energy. Quantum mechanics says something different. I can only increase the kid's energy one quantum step at a time. Pushing by half that amount is not possible.
Quantum steps, baby. Quantum steps.
Yeah.
All right, just one little quantum step at a time.
So before the Delft team developed their circuit, we could only adjust radio signals in the form of a small push or a tiny imprecise amount. But with the new quantum circuit, researchers are able to tune specific quanta of radio frequencies. These more precise frequencies could help improve the accuracy of MRIs and radio telescopes, but may also teach us more about quantum mechanics, gravity, and physics. Delft's team's quantum circuit could lead to new avenues of scientific discovery. They hope next to explore the way gravity interacts with quantum physics, something that still puzzles physicists to this day. And that's, the big problem with creating a unified field theory is that, gravity works on very large scales, and the other three major forces of, you could argue the one other force, but strong, weak, and electromagnetic forces all work on very small scales.
Mm-hmm.
So, using this quantum radio, they want to try and listen to control the quantum vibrations of heavy objects and explore experimentally what happens when you mix quantum mechanics and gravity. Such experiments are hard, but if successful, they'd be able to test whether they can make a quantum superposition of space-time itself. Which, who knows, if you're able to do that, maybe you could just simulate the whole thing. Quantum spacetime is a theory of mathematical physics in which some variables of spacetime are slightly different than they usually are, leading to a slightly different mathematical understanding of our universe. The proposed quantum superposition experiment is one in which Gelli says would test our understanding of both quantum mechanics and general relativity. So, maybe one day people will be listening to us on a quantum radio. That'd be nifty. Probably not, though. But you could use a quantum radio to give a far more precise anal probing.
Ready the anal probe.
Oh, dude,
Anal
you are
probe is
so
ready.
fired.
Commence anal probing.
Yep. So,
What's hot juice? How did I get in a hot juicer?
I don't even know. I don't know what you're up to, man.
Hot juicer. Why do we have a card called hot juicer?
Beats me. I don't know. I don't make all these things.
Could have fooled me.
So, yeah. Question is,
There we go.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you had, hypothetically, a starship powered by a black hole, like a Romulan ship,
It'd be whack.
do you think gamma ray telescopes would be able to pick you out?
Depends on what kind of shielding you got around that bad mofo.
Yeah. Well, according to this Fizzorg article, gamma ray telescopes could detect starships powered by black holes.
Well, you know what? Fuck you, Fizzor, because the only thing I can say is shield.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you need a hell of a cloak to hide a black hole.
It's another whole giant case of you don't know that.
Yeah, you think it is?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think it'd be pretty nifty to, one night they're using these super mega telescopes that they're building to look for exoplanets around another star and end up seeing this big old space battle. Yo,
dude, that'd be dope.
Maybe that cloud that planet that they found that had all the spectra of uranium and plutonium and shit in its spectra.
Right.
Maybe that's the debris of a huge space battle that
yeah.
And now all those ships are fucking dust floating around that star, and we're just seeing the absorption lines of like hull fragments and stuff.
Well, we're coming up near the end, so I definitely want to get to this. Let's shift over to this.
Well, anyhow, yeah, we'll post this in the group, and you guys can feast your eyes on this article. But it's got a nifty sky map from Fermi, got major gamma ray sources, and they're talking about this black hole powered starships. Pretty much, we'll post it. Check it out.
This is coming out of. It's okay if it's a priest or billionaire department. All right, but seriously, I mean, this has a little bit of a serious discussion behind it, I think, here. Ex-New Jersey priest accused of sex abuse found shot to death in Nevada home. John Caparelli, 70, was shot in the neck, authorities said. He had been credibly accused of sexually abusing minors. A former New Jersey priest who had been credibly accused of sexually abusing minors was found dead in his Nevada home, and police are treating it as a homicide. The body of John Caparelli was found Saturday morning by police conducting welfare check at his home in Henderson, about 15 miles south of Las Vegas. The Clark County Coroner Office said Caparelli, 70, died from a single gunshot wound to the neck. His body was found in the kitchen, a spokesperson said. Police say they did not have a suspect at this time. Caparelli's name appeared on the list in February with 187 other clergy of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Newark said had been credibly accused of abusing minors. He was never convicted of a crime, but he was laicized and permanently removed from ministry, according to the Archdiocese.
Get off my bridge.
Here's the thing. All right, so let's speculate about what could have happened here to him first before we get into the discussion, because this could have very easily been someone who had been abused by him, right? It could also have been someone who was close to someone who was abused by him. But it could have been the Catholic Church itself. Maybe he was about to flip on some shit. I don't know. I think the other one seemed more likely, but... So, that being said, I mean, they say he was credibly accused. See, this is why we need trials, guys, because what happens, let's just say, and I'm not a Catholic priest, child molester, apologist, or anything.
I'm not in a fucking cult.
And I'm also not in a cult. Let's just say this guy was innocent, okay? So, we just kill him and it's okay now? I mean, we don't know for a fact. It hasn't been brought to a trial or anything like that. I mean, I'm not saying that someone's making anything out. I'm just saying we don't know. It's not been proven in court.
Yeah,
you don't just go kill someone without it being proven, right?
I mean, depends on how bad they've damaged you. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, I think that there's room for honorable revenge.
Right. Now, if it was me, and if the person who did it said that he did it to them, I can understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it was somebody else doing it just because, because the mob mentality, all right? So just think about Lizard Guy with the stabbing his brother in the head.
Yeah.
All right? That kind of mentality. Like, what if he was attacked by someone like that? You know what I mean? Is all I'm saying. Like, if it was done to you, you know how I feel. There is no authority but yourself. So, like, you know, if it was me, yeah, sure, whatever, I'd do whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, living in a society who's supposed to have a rule of law.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, which, you know, maybe that's a good discussion to have. Is there room in civilized society for vigilante justice? I say yes. But, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, who decides what's justice? I mean, like, okay, say, hypothetically, and not even take it in the scenario, but say that some child accuses someone of molesting them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe the child is making it up for whatever reason, okay? But because the child says that, we just go kill the motherfucker? I mean, what is the process here?
What if it turns out it's bullshit? What if?
What is the process here? Is what I'm saying. Like, I mean, it's getting crazy because I mean, like, just think.
I can see both sides of that argument. You know what I mean? Like, because on one hand, what happens when you ask organizations like the Catholic Church or the police to investigate themselves and they find no wrongdoing?
Right.
You're never going to get justice that way. Like, expecting the Catholic Church to police itself, it's
I mean,
pretty high hopes.
Obviously. But, you know, on the other hand, we do live in the society that we live in where there is supposed to be a rule of law. I mean, if we're talking about, you know, fairy tale universe prime.
I mean, hey,
you know what I mean?
Principles don't have asterisks.
We're talking about something different. Yeah. Dude. Realistically, man, you live in this republic that's supposed to run a certain way.
Right?
Right? That's where you live.
Yeah.
So you don't follow the rule of law? Not saying that every law is, I mean, but we have basic laws that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, generally
like, don't molest kids. Seems like a good law to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty damn good law. But, you know, if somebody were to come to me and be like, hey, this guy diddled me when I was a kid, so I strung him up from a light pole, more power to you, bro. If I'm on your jury, I'm going to vote not guilty.
Right.
More often than not, if you can prove to me that this guy.
I understand, but what I'm saying is there was no process for that in this situation. He was accused and then he was murdered. So there was no process. You feel me? Is what I'm getting at. Like, you take into the account the mentality of people who are following, not all the people, but a lot of them, like the Q followers. All right, this cult mind mentality. Like, I'm focusing in on the Q followers because they're heavy on the Pizzagate type shit, right? The child sex rings and that kind of shit. So that gets them amped up. You know what I mean? And then you get the people who get into it, like the lizard guy. I just keep going back to this lizard guy because I see that this could be a problem.
Not that lizard guy.
Not that lizard guy. The dude stabbed his brother in the head. You remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do y'all think? You think you're like, hell yeah? Because I guarantee you, if you pop into one of them groups right now, they're all like, hell yeah, I fucking killed another one. Which, I feel you. I feel you, man. You know what I'm saying? But where's the line?
Yeah. It's hard to call.
You just run out and kill, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's hard to call it.
What do you guys think out there?
Yeah, if you happen to have an opinion on this, then definitely give us a buzz. 757-528-8130 and tell us, where do you draw the line?
All right, Dan, I think we got time for one more if you want to pick us up on the lead out.
Yeah, I got one. And this, considering that, generally there's one set of rules for them and another one for us, but I found this kind of amusing. Elon Musk's security clearance is under review over his pot use. The Pentagon is reviewing Elon Musk's federal security clearance. This is coming from Bloomberg. Following the billionaire's marijuana toke on a California comedian's podcast in September. According to a U.S. official, look, if you happen to be a multi-squillionaire and you want to come on Reality Brief, 757-528-8130.
You can give us a call, but you can't do it because it's not legal here.
Yeah, exactly. But you can Skype in and do it from somewhere that is
you can
legal.
Skype in and do it. Or since you're a billionaire, you can fly us out to somewhere where it is.
I'm saying, there's options.
Hey. Elon Musk, give us a call,
Yeah.
757-528-8130. We're ready to take the motherfucking Falcon X to the tunnel.
Yo, if Elon Musk calls in, I will stay on the air for another hour.
The hell you will.
Whether you like it or not.
Sorry, Elon, we gotta go.
I'm off tomorrow. What's good?
No, Donnie gotta work, dog.
The Pentagon is... Yeah, right? Yeah. So Musk has refiled his SF-86 security form, which requires a federal employee or contractor seeking a clearance to acknowledge any illegal drug use over the previous 7 years, according to the official, who asked not to be identified because he didn't want to be thrown out of a fucking airlock.
Illegal. Guess what? Guess where he was? Yeah, wasn't
Colorado.
illegal. Wasn't illegal. Try again, government. You can't trick that billionaire up.
Especially since your only other choice for getting to the ISS is the Russians. And we know how unpopular that is right now. The entrepreneur has a secret level clearance because of his role and founder as CEO of Space Exploration Technologies Corp., SpaceX, which is also certified to launch military spy satellites. And of course, if you facilitate Hydra, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
A SpaceX official who asked not to be identified because he didn't want to be thrown out of a fucking airlock either, says that the review has had impact on the company. SpaceX's day-to-day operations are run by President and Chief CEO, or COO, Gwynne Shotwell. The company has won contracts for national security space launches since Musk's podcast incident, including one for 3 launches on February 19th for $297 million. But the refiling and review underscore the continuing ramifications from the chief executive officer's decision last year to smoke weed on the podcast, which quickly went viral. And it highlights the legal discrepancies between federal and state policy on marijuana use. While about 36 states have taken steps to decriminalize pot, its use remains a federal crime. It's a vice. You know what I mean? There's different... A vice is not a crime, but... It would totally make sense for the Defense Department to ask Musk to update his application and to investigate the situation further, because they want to piss off the one guy who can put military satellites in orbit, said Mark Zaid, a Washington attorney who specializes in federal whistleblower cases and representing clients facing clearance challenges. Zaid doesn't represent Musk and isn't aware of the details of his case. James Gleason, a spokesman for closely held SpaceX, declined to comment. Smart. Musk in September sipped whiskey. That way you don't get thrown out of an airlock. Musk in September sipped whiskey during a podcast of more than 2.5 hours with comedian Joe Rogan in California that touched on topics from flamethrowers to artificial intelligence to the end of the universe.
Sucking George Soros' ding-a-ling.
The security refiling may be the last of Musk's issues after a tumultuous week in which he got into another spat with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission over his tweets about Tesla Inc., unveiled cheaper versions of Tesla's electric vehicles, and caught investors by surprise with plans to close auto showrooms.
Oh, I
so
like
he
money.
also watched SpaceX launch a new spacecraft designed to ferry humans into orbit, which, according to another article, looked like that we don't have time for, looked like a toasted marshmallow. We'll post that. Tesla trimmed gains before closing up 0.1% at $276.59. Hey, that's cheap enough. I might be able to buy some Tesla stock. Musk is the company's co-founder and CEO. Musk's education review by the Defense Security Service continues with no decision yet, the U.S. official said. Typically during an adjudication, a person keeps his or her security clearance but loses access to information classified as secret. So what, suddenly you don't know stuff anymore?
Yeah. You know what would be funny? I want to be in the room when these motherfuckers are like, Elon Musk, we're revoking your secret clear. Are you fucking kidding me? This motherfucker is taking you to the fucking space station. Leave him alone.
They are insane.
Yeah, but you know what? Don't give them ideas. I've seen this TV show. They're going to try and nationalize SpaceX, in the interest of capitalism.
I've seen this TV show. Yeah, there was that one guy. What was his name?
Yeah.
He was in that one movie, Che Guevara.
Zing. Yeah, Jesus, especially if AOC gets into power. We never even got into the brain-eating amoebas thing, but let me tell you, if those brain-eating amoebas are on the loose, AOC is immune. There's nothing to eat. But yeah, typically during an adjudication, a person keeps his or her security clearance but loses access to information classified as secret. If the drug use involves minor issues or doesn't appear to contain any serious security concerns, the unit reviewing the case could just close it and update Musk's record. Hey, this guy smokes weed. Guess what? He's the only guy who can put our shit in orbit. Next. Nevertheless, there can be serious consequences for breaching security protocols. Smoking marijuana is absolutely grounds for termination or a loss of clearance if a federal employee or contractor currently uses it.
What if Elon Musk flew to space and smoked some weed in space? Then it wouldn't be illegal, right?
What if you ate an edible in space because you don't want to have an open flame in a high oxygen environment?
Vape.
Yeah, see?
Well, that's all for this week, folks. We'd like to thank you for sticking around and checking out the broadcast. Holler out to the crew there. We got Tess, we got Wishman, we got Penny, Dan, Don, Reality Brief. See you next week. We got Joel Lakey. Love you.
Until then, don't get on the ships.